Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This video is a continuation of the how to texture paint video. In this part, we will rig and pose the character like this, and then go over some basic composition elements for the final render. I'm going to start by adding in a human armature, and then scaling up to match the character model. Then it's really just a matter of moving all the bones into place so that they're inside the model's mesh. I would suggest turning on X symmetry here so you only have to work on one side. I'm going to start off by deleting some of the bones I don't want, starting with the breastbone, then moving up to the face bones, as I'm not going to do any face rigging. When you delete the face bones, make sure to delete the small bone inside the head bone like this, or else the rig will not generate properly. Okay, now with the unwanted bones deleted, I'm going to move the rest into place. Make sure the bones are inside the mesh. To help with lining them up, you can hide bones by pressing H, the same way you can hide regular objects. You can click over on the right side panel under the viewport display and tick the in front box to have the bones always display on top of the mesh if you want a clearer view of where they are in relation to the body. Toggling this on and off can give you a better idea on whether your bones are properly within the volume of your object as well. Scale is important for the rig. Make sure the armature scale is set to 1 by pressing Ctrl A and clearing transforms. Go through the rest of your model and clear transforms on everything to make sure that everything is at the scale of 1 as well. Now it's time to go over to the right panel and press on the button here called Generate Rig. It will create an animation rig here which looks quite busy. You can now hide the armature skeleton as we don't need it going forward. Now we're going to connect our body to the rig so we can move it. You can do this by clicking on each of the objects of the model and then shift select the rig last. Now press Ctrl P and select the Armature Deform with Automatic Weights option. Now you can select the rig, and going into pose mode, you can select these yellow, red, and blue handles and move the model around. If it's moving slowly, you can speed things up by reducing the multi-resolution subdivision level in the preview field. One thing to note is that by default, the arms and legs will stretch when you use the red IK handles here. If you don't want them to stretch, go to the options panel on the right by pressing N on your keyboard, and then change the IK stretch parameter to 0. You'll need to do this for each hand and foot, unless of course you're going for a cartoony, stretchy look with your character. If you're finding there are too many things distracting your view, you can disable the rig handles over here to clean things up, and then pick the ones you want. To work the fingers, you can select these long orange handles, and by pressing S to scale, you can open and close the hand like this. You can also move these same handles to adjust the fingers if you want a different position as well. If you've made a bunch of adjustments to your character's pose and you end up not liking it, you can select any part of the rig and then press F3, type Clear Pose, and select Clear Transform All. This will reset the position of your rig. Now you can see when I twist the head and shoulder handles of the rig that the chin moves in an odd way. It seems to get cut off when moving the head, and it seems to be affected by the shoulder movement too much. To fix this, we need to go into weight paint mode. You'll see the head is entirely blue here. This is showing us the weight or influence the bone we have selected over on the right panel has over the selected mesh. The hotter or more red the color is, the greater the weight or influence. The colder or more blue, the lesser the weight or influence. If we scroll up, we will find the spine bones. As we scroll through the spine bones, we start seeing some color appear on spine.004. This is the upper chest bone. It's a little green and yellow, meaning that there's just a little bit of influence. Going up to spine.005, which is the neck, we see where our problem stems from. The neck has some influence over the chin and lower part of the face. This isn't what we want. We want spine.006, or the head bone, to have full influence of the entire head. Right now it only shows about half of the head. To fix this, we will go up and make sure we have the draw brush selected. We will also press N on our keyboard and then select Auto Normalize and X Mirror for symmetry. Now I'm going to paint the head all red. Auto normalize makes it so that the weight paint over any part of the mesh does not exceed 1. This means that as we paint it red, the strongest influence color, it will remove any other influence any other bone may have on it. Now when I go back into pose mode and move the head handle, the entire head moves with it. Now when I select the shoulder handle, it has no influence over the chin. Okay, so the smaller things like the eyebrows, beard, and the accessories and armor, I did not originally parent with automatic weights, since you can also use the data transfer modifier to have them follow the rig as well. To do this, first select the items and then shift select the rig last, and then press Ctrl P and select Armature Deform with empty weights. Then select each object and add a data transfer modifier. Select the mesh that you want the object to follow, in this case the head, and then down below, select vertex data and vertex groups. Make sure to either apply the data transfer modifier or move it above the armature modifier in the modifier stack, or else it won't work. With the beard, you can see this method isn't the best. To fix this, I will just parent the beard to the rig as we did the body originally. I do this by pressing Ctrl P and then selecting automatic weights, then weight painting it 100% or all red to spine.006, the head bone. Now I'm going to go through and use the data transfer modifier on a few other pieces of the armor. The rest of the pieces I'm just going to manually move into place, as I'm just going to do a still pose for this character. For a still pose, it can be more work to parent to the rig and do a bunch of finicky weight painting than it is just to spin them into place by hand. You may notice as you move parts of the body around, some deformations of the mesh occur. To fix these, you can go into sculpt mode to make the adjustments. When you enter sculpt mode, make sure to turn off the multi-resolution modifier in the viewport so you can sculpt the object while it's in its pose. Don't forget to turn the multi-resolution modifier back on. Okay, so now I'm going to move the rest of the model into the pose I want. This will be up to you and the expression you want your character to have. I'm going to go for a pose similar to that of the character I originally had in mind when I started, which is just a simple gun holding pose. If you want to make small adjustments, you can also use the blue tweak handles like this. You may run into issues where certain objects start to look a little wonky. Sometimes they can be fixed by simply moving the data transfer modifier up to the top of the modifier stack like this. Here I'm starting to move bigger armor parts into place manually. To make this easier, I'm applying the mirror modifiers, pressing L to select all the vertices, and then pressing P and separating by selection. I also apply the array and curve modifiers on the bullets to convert them to individual objects. This makes it a little easier to move them around at this point. Now I'm just going to do the same thing to the forearm guards as I did with the other pieces of the armor, applying the mirror modifier and moving them separately. And finally, for some quick composition things, for a stage, I just have a giant cylinder I cut the top off of. For lighting, I'm just using a basic tri-light system commonly used in films and photography. It consists of 3 lights, a key light that I have set at 10,000 watts, and then a fill and backlight, each at 50% of the power of the key light. You can add these lights quicker by enabling a built-in Blender add-on called Tri-Lights. To use this add-on, go to the Add menu and then down to Lights. Whichever object you have selected, the 3 lights will be focused on and will follow. Because of this, I like to create an empty that I call Focus Point Lights before I add the 3 lights, so I can move their focus point around easily. I also have an HDRI over in the shading editor. Go to World here and add it in by using an image texture node. It's very simple. I made a little video on this, but there are lots of videos on this already. To see the position of the camera, you can press 0 on your keyboard to go to camera view. To make positioning it easier, you can press N on your keyboard, go to View, and then tick the View Lock Camera to View button. This way you can orbit and pan as you normally would, but control the camera at the same time. You can change the resolution and size of your image here. I'm going to go for a square ratio here. With the camera selected, you can change things like the focal length and depth of field for that blurry look. I'm going to do a render here so we can do some final basic compositing. Once the render is done, over to the Compositing tab, make sure you have Use Nodes ticked here. If you are rendering in cycles, over to the right side panel, tick the Denoising Data button to reduce the noise or graininess of your image. Once you have done that, you can set up your nodes like I have here to reduce the noise. You can also add nodes to edit the colors of your render, such as hue and saturation. There are lots of options here. You can play around to get the look that you like. And that's it, we're done, guys. Hit me up on social media and show me what you have. Or let me know if you have any questions or if I screwed up anywhere. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope it helped, and see you in the next one.